So welcome back to the Mature Movers podcast. Today we are talking to Suzanne Noble, a serial entrepreneur in the later living space. Suzanne runs various organisations supporting older adults, independence through social activities, business startup guidance and accommodation opportunities. In Suzanne's spare time, she sings dirty blues in jazz clubs. So Suzanne, it's lovely to meet you today. And thank you so much for coming on to chat to me and share your story. So why are you so focused on helping older adults, and when did this all start?
It all started 5 years ago, actually. I meet my bunch of friends on a regular basis, and I have a hot tub in my back garden. And it was while sitting in the hot tub in my back garden that we were discussing, it was a group of women, we were all between 40s to kind of around 65. And we were all discussing how when the media talks about older women, it's inevitably in derogatory tones. So it's always negative. It's always around sagging this and no sex that, and, you know, we're all a bit useless. And really, what's the point of us being on the planet? And we didn't feel like that. And one of the group members, Amanda, said, we should start something called Advantages of Age. And being a person that tends to just run with things, I thought, oh, that's quite a nice idea. I'll do that. So it was around Christmas of 2016. I went and set up a website called Advantages of Age. And when they came back a few months later to sit in the hot tub again, I said, well, I've done that now. And they said, what have you done? I said, I've set up that website, you know, Advantages of Age. And they just looked at me like I was nuts. And, but one of the group, Rose, she had been a journalist and was in PR. And so she took over the role of editor. And we started enlisting lots of friends of ours to write articles on what it means for them to be older. And I started curating articles that I discovered in magazines and newspapers and just posting snippets of that on the site. And ultimately that grew into quite a significant size Facebook group. We've now got about nearly 4,000 members. We got some Arts Council funding at the sort of instigation of a young man who said, oh, you could get some Arts Council funding for this. We sort of thought, well, I don't know for what exactly, but anyway, we came up with some activities and things that we thought would be interesting to people, and they were. And that really escalated the interest in what we were doing. And then I started getting involved more in helping people to start up businesses as a result of, again, a pilot program in 2017. And yeah, I mean, look, the more you surround yourself with lots of people in their 50s, if you're a problem solver like I am, the more you find lots of problems and the more you want to solve them. So I just kind of ended up immersing myself in this age group, really completely by accident. And as a result, that's what I do now. Yeah.
Brilliant. So if you were to describe what Advantages of Age is within, I don't know, 10 words, how would you describe it?
I like to say that our mission is to help people over 50 manifest the life that they desire in whatever shape or form that happens to be. So if people want to go and they want to move to a foreign country and just start again, then we should support them to do that. And we have had people write about those experiences. And for some people, it's about they've lost their jobs and they're wondering what to do next. And we might be helping to support them into self-employment or some other form of employment. And for some people, it's really just about social connection. They just want to meet other people and hang out and, you know, just get to know people, because sometimes it can be quite lonely, especially if you perhaps have moved somewhere new and you don't know people. So we facilitate that through having parties and other types of activities that people can just meet and get to know each other.
Lovely. And so through those activities and those parties and those social get-togethers, you're having those conversations that are kind of stimulating ambition and kind of opening up that opportunity to talk about people's kind of deeper dreams and things that probably they don't talk about very often or at all to anybody else.
Yeah, completely. I mean, we definitely have people within Startup School that have been thinking about an idea that they've kept on the shelf for years, and maybe they've just bored their family and friends to death talking about it, until the point where people have just gone, why don't you just do it? But there's that fear factor about failure. And what we enable them to do is to as you said, to talk about those dreams and ambitions, and to be supported by other people who have similar dreams and ambitions, and collectively they go, I can discuss this, I can talk about this, and actually move the thing forward.
Absolutely. I love that. So is Startup School different or separate from Advantages of Age?
Advantages of Age is the name of the company, and Startup School is the program that we deliver through the company. But Advantages of Age has many different facets, and some of them are more related to lifestyle or the Facebook group, and some of them are related to Startup School and around employment. So yeah, it's Advantages of Age is the umbrella organization, if you like, and Startup School is one section of it.
So I would guess that we would kind of describe you, Suzanne, as a problem solver for a variety of aging topics and common issues that you find within mid to later life when it comes to those things. It's interesting because I don't know if you know this about me, but I see your name pop up on lots of different parts of, because we're in the same circles, and I'll be like, oh, I've seen that name before. And it's lovely to hear that somebody is actually focusing on a lot of other things, and Advantages of Age is a social enterprise. So you're kind of giving back to that community, and you're offering that support that people need, that they might not necessarily get if they don't live in a retirement village, or that they don't have that external support by a local charity or local council. So that's wonderful. And I guess that's also because it's based online. Is it open to kind of everyone across the UK? Because it's not limited to region, is it?
No, not at all. And in fact, because because Facebook became a very strong part of reaching out to people, Facebook itself markets us to people all over the place. So we get people from like Utah who just kind of rock up and find us quite curious and fascinating, and we find them quite fascinating as well. But I've met people from all over the world, really, and I've made friends with people in New York who have come to London to visit, and we've all met up. And we did host an activity in New York years ago, which was we did this thing called the Fabulous and Flamboyant Bus Tour, which was where we all got dressed up in colorful clothes, and we just got on this double-decker bus we hired, and we drove around London, and we used the streets of London as our catwalk, just to show that older people can be out there. They're not necessarily as invisible as you think we are, or the media likes to think we are. And we did a similar activity in New York on the subway, and it wasn't like hundreds of people turned up, but there were sort of like 10 people, which was great, and we just all met each other, and we're just still in contact and friendly. So yeah, it's become quite international, but I would say predominantly people live in the UK. Predominantly.
Okay. And is that because you're based in the UK?
Yeah. And
so
because a lot of the topics that we discuss, especially around culture and get-togethers, tend to take place in the UK. And despite my trying to encourage members to host activities themselves, Advantages of Age activities themselves, they haven't.
Okay. You're the doer. Maybe one day, Suzanne.
Yeah. It'll happen one day. It will happen. I'm determined.
Brilliant.
It will happen. Just have to figure out. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it sounds to me that Advantages of Age is kind of covering that social isolation, and has a really kind of understood that concept of social isolation and is working against that. So how do you think that you and the people that you work with and the people that are involved are, what do you find the most beneficial aspect of tackling social isolation through advantages of age?
I suppose one of the key things that I've recognized through working in the aging space is that there's a lot of emphasis on the word loneliness and isolation, kind of two very negative words. And I'm very much of the opinion that what we don't want to do is we don't want people to feel crap about themselves. And it's much more beneficial to talk about making connections, social connections, encouraging possibilities, rather than using all those negative words that tend to get associated with age. Because let's face it, people of all ages can be isolated and they can be lonely. Like it's not just older people. We've got a problem in every generation of people feeling, especially because of social media, that maybe they're quite alone. So I think, what we do is try and facilitate conversations that get people excited and stimulated and feeling like they can get involved. B, not putting anybody up on a pedestal. I think another thing that happens in the older group is that we tend to try and only see role models, which are people that have like run a marathon, or they're still weightlifting, or they're doing incredible things. And that's great. And we love older people doing incredible things. But let's face it, most of us are just normal people and we just do normal stuff. And if we're lucky, we go to the gym 3 times a week. So I think it's about recognizing that actually, no matter what you're doing, it's okay. There's no golden rule for getting older. If you want to just sit around all day long and just like chat crap to people on Facebook, that's fine. It's you know what I mean? It's okay. It's fine. But I think as much as possible, we try to encourage conversation, because that's the main thing for people is in recognizing that no matter, we have some quite deep discussions about fear of death, about what our funerals might look like, about, whether or not we're in favor of artificial fillers in our faces, or going gray, or, being able or not being able to retire. And people do get very animated and they have a lot to say. And I think it's about realizing this is a place where it's okay. We try to encourage everyone to just say what they want. And generally, because Rose moderates the Facebook group and she's really, really good at it. Generally, we find that people feel pretty liberated in terms of what they're able to talk about, without fear of being shut down, which can so often happen, especially when you're an online community.
So with these conversations, I'm assuming that they're text-based conversations, or do you do live or phone calls or anything like that?
We have in the past done streamed conversations from the hot tub, which was quite fun.
Love that.
Which we'd like to do again, where we just get together 4 people and we just talk about a specific topic. Maybe we've got an expert, maybe we've got somebody who's got more of an amateur appreciation or something, and we all just get together and talk. And we haven't done those for a while, but those were really fun and people really enjoyed them. And we used to get thousands of views, as you can appreciate. Lots of old people sitting in a hot tub chatting stuff.
Well, that's what you could call it, podcast, or something like podcast in my hot tub, and then you just get loads of people to
we thought of it. You know what, the water is a problem.
Oh, that's true. There's got to be a way around that. There's absolutely,
you can't really wear radio mics and stuff in the water. So, but yeah, probably we will sort something. We have thought about it though, and thought actually we should bring them back because people loved them and they were fun. So we've done that. Mark and I, my colleague at Startup School, we host a weekly Zoom event during Startup School where people get together and they share what's going on with their business. And then we have an alumni call once a month. And on the social side, we did a little picnic on the weekend. We tried to organize more ad hoc events now because we don't have an events manager that we're looking for. So we just try and do things that are kind of easy for us to facilitate.
So Mature Movers was kind of born off the premise that during lockdown, so my speciality is movement and exercise, and that's kind of my background. But where I was helping people during the lockdown period was the conversations that we were having during these sessions.
Yeah.
And then I realized, actually, I think the benefits of these sessions, okay, yeah, you've got the fact that they're moving and people are staying mobile and they're focusing on their physical health, but the most powerful advantage of these sessions is the fact that we're having conversations about people's lives. And that's what people say. They say, I can't have these conversations with my family or friends because everybody knows each other. Whereas when you have strangers on Facebook or people you don't know, but they're going through similar things, they can really relate to that. And I can definitely see, and lockdown and the pandemic has really kind of brought that to my attention, is the power of talking and just having those conversations. So, I mean, you're way ahead of the game, aren't you? Because you guys recognized that years and years ago, and you've just kind of grown and really understood what people need to talk about. So where do you see advantages of age going in the future?
We've got a small membership scheme that we came up with a few years ago to just get people to support us in some of our running costs. And we think there's definitely opportunities there that we're working on. Startup School is getting interest from other countries in us delivering for them in other countries. So we're having a few conversations with other countries in Europe and potentially Australia as well about that. On the social side of things, we've been thinking about, just again, how we can do more events, but try and get somebody to support us with that and help us with that. It's always one of the bigger challenges of working with people over 50 is everybody's got busy and complex lives. So it's been hard to manage volunteers and other people that want to help us, because inevitably they're only there on a temporary basis. So trying to build out our own internal capacity as an organization by hiring more people that can actually have some responsibility and get paid is useful. So yeah, I mean, we've been in discussion with funders about just capacity building, and and we're looking at maybe setting up something on Patreon to help us in that way. And there's lots of ideas in the pipeline. It's just, how many hours in the day. There's other educational things that people are seeking that we think we could support them with. But I mean, Startup School is growing all the time, and we've just been recommissioned by 2 local authorities. So we're feeling confident that side of the business there's a requirement, and we've now got a product that we can sell. So
brilliant. Good. And then grow, and then I guess the ultimate goal is to help more people and really kind of give them the resources, materials and opportunities to go and develop those dreams and ambitions to actually action them out. Fantastic. So explain Nestful.
So Nestful was another thing that kind of sprung a little bit out of advantages of age and my own life experience, where I, having been an Airbnb host for a number of years, started to feel more like a housekeeper than a homemaker, and changing sheets all the time, cleaning the bathroom, all that. And so I decided to, somebody came along who was looking for a more long-term solution, and he was a friend of a friend, and he was my age. And I just kind of jumped in it and said, why don't you move in with me? I've got this spare room. And so he did. After we didn't even know each other, and he just moved in. And then I realized, now I'm sort of like living like a student in my 50s. This is interesting. And my partner was also going through a transition in his life circumstances where he wanted to move into town and he didn't have the financial resources to be able to rent on his own. So I started helping him to look for a shared place. And I realized that actually when you're looking for a place to share, mainly because of financial circumstances, it's really hard if you're not a student. The websites like Spare Room and stuff aren't really set up for older people, and that what people are looking for is slightly different. They might be looking for a more long, this might not be transitional housing. This might be something that you're planning on living in for quite a significant period of time. Then sort of companionship issues come into play, all sorts of things. So anyway, I decided, okay, maybe I should set up a business to look at supporting more people to be able to share when they're older. And I met a guy through a friend who was up north and working on a student sharing platform, who was really interested in this age group. And so we got together and we joined an online startup school called Y Combinator in the States, like a free startup school anybody can join. And we went on that program and we launched as silver sharers in week 6 of that program. And I got some publicity in the Standard and the Guardian, and things started really taking off. And then we got some investment and started really digging into the problem that we were solving and whether what we'd created was good enough or what, how it could be improved. And we realized that silver was a kind of controversial word amongst older people. They didn't necessarily want to see themselves as silver, especially if they were 50 and they hadn't yet gone gray. So they were sort of a bit, I don't like that name. So we changed to Nestful during the pandemic. And yeah, that's what we do now. We help older people to find people to share with who we recognize could actually be any age, because one of the things that came out of the research was that actually age, when you're older, you're just looking more for somebody you're going to like. It's not actually, it doesn't really matter if they're 25 or 55. It's just, are you going to get along with them? So,
yeah. And I mean, I'm in my 20s and I know that I'd probably prefer to live with somebody 50 plus. So just because I think there's more conversation, and I love that intergenerational opportunity there to learn from other people. It's interesting that you mentioned that the research that you suggested that people didn't like the word silver. So I find that really interesting, because there are a lot of businesses in this age group that use the word silver. You've got like Silver Surfers, lots of fitness brands. I'm not going to mention any, but lots of fitness brands that use the word silver in their name. And I've always personally thought it's a bit strange, because I'm quite grey, and I know it's hard to believe, but I don't know if you can tell on the video, but my dad is half grey at 9. I say this on all my podcasts, I think. My dad is grey at half grey at 19. So genetically, I've always known that I'm going to be quite grey quite early on, which I'm absolutely fine about. But those people that are using the word silver aren't targeting me. So for me personally, it's never sat very well, which is really interesting. And I think that kind of brings into a whole other conversation around word discrimination and stereotypes, which is something you probably come across a lot. And you've got that access to those people who can have those conversations about, actually, I don't like that word, or
yeah. I mean, God, there's so many words related to age that people really get triggered by. Silver is one of them. People don't like the word old very much, they just don't. But then that just sort of says that, well, if you don't like the word old, then, and you just want to continually, people go, oh, you don't look that old. Oh, I thought you were much younger, so there's always that stuff that goes on with one. It's if one is better than the other, right?
It's that comparison, isn't it?
So young is good and old is not good. That's basically what it is. And silver is not good. Gray, not good. All of that kind of stuff. It's all in the park that in the
negative
space. But I mean, some of the things that we talk about kind of jokingly, but not that jokingly, especially as women, is just like, should we just reclaim some of the other words that are really derogatory, like hag? We've got an Etsy shop that doesn't get any sales, probably because it's a bit too controversial. But we've got one that I keep saying, I'm going to buy this t-shirt because I got some young person. We came up with all sorts of words that we should reclaim. And I got a young person to just design t-shirts with them. And one, it says haggitude, which I thought that was quite fun. And another one says reclaim the crone.
Love it. Love it.
And then there's other ones that are just, I just think all of those words, we just need to think about, can we take them back and give them some
positive meaning?
Positive meeting.
Yeah.
You know? People get really, they get.
I know. Once I was in a meeting and I was trying to explain what Mature Movers does. And I think I said older adults. And I think one of the ladies misheard me and she got really upset about it. And she was like, that cat, I think she was in her 50s. And I'm actually talking about people in their 70s, 80s and 90s when I say older people or older adults. And she got really upset with me. And I kind of said, I didn't actually say that. And I just thought, wow, it's really interesting to see how offended you were by the fact that I used those terminology, because I am really careful about what I use and how I say it, because I know that people don't like. For me, older adults isn't a rude or negative way of saying that. I feel like with the word elderly, because of the way it's been used in the past, and that whole media thing that you said, like elderly people this, elderly people that seniors. Seniors has a lot of negative connotations around, which make me feel like uncomfortable, and I like get a sweat when I'm talking to somebody, or I'm in a conversation with somebody who's maybe in their 30s, 40s, and they're using like really negative words or saying negative things, and I'm like, oh God, how do I approach this? Because I'm so anti-age, like I'm so pro-aging. That's how it should be. Let's be more positive, pro-aging. And I really want to like help tackle the discriminatory language that's used, especially on social media, because this is a space that I'm in. So that's interesting. I'd love to read some more research on silver, because that's not one I've come across before.
Yeah, well, seniors, I mean, people, when I say it's Startup School for Seniors, they say, oh, I don't know about the seniors thing. And I said, look, it's partly in jest, right? So you just have to live with it. Okay. Startup School for over 50s just didn't work. Let's face it, just sounds better. So let's just live with it, shall we? But honestly, there's so many trigger words for older people. And even the word older people, I mean, I'm 60 and I just think, okay, I've been on this planet 60 years, and that's a significant period of time. And I've done a lot of things, like, when my kids who are in their 20s reflect on my life, which occasionally they do, they're like, you've already had like 4 lives. I've been a TV producer, I produced a sex education video, I ran a PR agency, I sing, blah 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 blah. And they're just, could you just not chill? Just chill there.
You fully embrace life, Suzanne, by the sounds of it.
Well, I just get bored easily. So I tackle something. I have a goal, I set myself goals, and then when I reach them, I'm like, oh, that's good. Let's move on now. We can move on now.
Well, and that's probably what you're doing with Advantages of Age, is you're kind of helping to teach that mindset of, you don't have to get to 50 and that's it, or you don't have to retire at 65 and sit around or sit watching TV, but in the back of your brain really wants to go and travel the world.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. And for me, I was listening to an entrepreneur talk on the High Performance podcast, and she was saying, I want to work till I'm 99. And that was, to me, was really interesting, because I'm like, wow, a lot of people don't want to do that. You must like really love what you do. And I absolutely love what I do, but I don't want to work till I'm 99. I want to, touch wood, have the financial ability to travel the world and go to lots of different countries and do things that people don't really usually do. So yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about, and it's really interesting that you've kind of shared that stuff about you, and how you've kind of, you live what you preach. You're not hypocrite at all. You're doing what you're telling people. Well, you're not telling anyone what to do. You're just encouraging.
I'm just doing it. No, I mean, I did say to people, I'm going to move. I posted in the Advantages page group. I said, right, I booked my flight. I'm moving to the Canaries for 3 months in December. I've been talking about it for ages. I hate the winter in the UK. I've got a cheap flight, 28 quid to Las Palmas. I found a 2-bedroom flat. It's got Wi-Fi. I'm going. And if anybody else wants to come, I'm going to be there. And then somebody, a friend of mine, wrote to me a few weeks later, and she's like, I've got some friends and family or whatever in Las Palmas. I've just booked for the whole month of December. I'll see you there. And then somebody else wrote, you've inspired me. I've wanted to do this kind of digital nomad thing. I'm going to come for the whole month of January. I booked it. So I was like, okay. And a bunch of other people, I'm like, look, I'm there. I'm just putting it out there. I am going to be there if you want to come. But like you, I just want to travel the world. Honestly, and so for me, one of the things I said I wanted to do was I wanted to jokingly travel the world like a Victorian, meaning I wanted to just rock, like they used to do Europe. The Victorians used to do Europe. So they used to rock up in a place, settle down for as long as they wanted, go, oh, I'm a bit bored now, should we go to Marrakesh, blah, 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 pick up, go to Marrakesh, stay there for a month or two. And I thought, that's what I want to do. I just want to get to the point where I can go anywhere I want for as long as I want. And I want my job to be able to enable me to do that. And Startup School is online first. And there's a reason for that. And Nestful is an online platform. And there's a reason for that, which is I just don't want to be able to be fixed to one place. And, one of the great opportunities we all have now, if we can manifest our lives so that it's all online, is we can just be where we want to be.
Love it.
So yeah, I'm doing my Canaries. This is my first kind of, can I do this? Can I just go? Can I do this?
It's very brave, because it's something that I've wanted to do, and just kind of, I'm in an awkward position at the moment where I'm trying to buy a house, and at the same time I'm like, but all I want to do is book a one-way ticket to another country and just like live there and do something. Because when I was younger, during my breaks, like whether it was at university during the summer holidays there or in between school, I would work abroad. So I've worked in Texas, Italy, Croatia, and I absolutely loved it. But I was always working for somebody in those environments, so you don't have the kind of travel flexibility that you kind of want. Whereas now I'm in a position to say, actually, I can travel with my job. And I would like to do that. So I'm hoping that in the next 3 years, I can be in a position to do exactly what you've done and be like, okay, I'm going to copy and live that Suzanne lifestyle and go and live in another country for 3 months. Because
why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? I think we all should be able to do that if we want to. If we want to, that's the key thing, right? Not everybody wants to. So.
No. That's true. That is true. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Suzanne. And thank you so much for sharing your story and your ambitions and advantages of age, and all the wonderful work that you're doing. So speak soon.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.